I was so disappointed. And I started to check myself, having self-doubt. And this is what happens when we need others' approval. Do you find yourself needing the approval of others? I know I've done this before, so in this video, I'm going to talk about believing in your true self and suggest 3 things that you can try so we don't have to rely on anybody's approval. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, needing others' approval. My son and I have been talking about this. He's in a competitive soccer league, so he practices 3 times a week. There's a game almost every weekend, and this coach expects a lot out of them. So we've been talking about that and about his team, like needing the coach's approval or acceptance that they're doing well. You know, there's a difference between needing approval and really believing in yourself. You know, I used to think this is something that happens when you're young, you know, needing the approval from your parents, that you're doing well, that you're a good person, or needing the approval from your teachers, family members. But I recognize that this happens throughout our whole life. Maybe we want the approval and acceptance of our spouse or partner. Maybe we want the approval and acceptance that we're a good person, we're doing well from our boss. And really, there's nothing wrong with wanting approval. We all want that. But the problem appears when we need it, that it defines us. And if we do that, we start to have self-doubt in our lives. We get very confused. And where does all of that get us? Wanting others' approval or their acceptance. All that we get from that is dissatisfaction. There's a teaching in the school that I teach in, the Quantum School of Zen, and this teaching is believe in yourself 100%. But what does that mean to believe in yourself 100%? I think many people think that means believe in this ego. We build up this ego. You know, I remember back in the 80s, they had these self-help tapes, these cassettes, right? You put it in your car or your cassette deck, and then the person on the tape says, repeat after me. I am great. I can do it. I am the best, right? So you're kind of building up this false sense of self. And the problem with that is there's the other side of the coin. I don't believe in myself. I'm not a good person. I'm not doing great. So in Zen, sometimes you might hear believing in your true self. And I think another way of talking about that is trusting your intuition. We have all had experience with intuition. You know, maybe somebody's talking to you, and even though they're saying something, you know, you sense that they mean something else. Or maybe you go to the place and you know it doesn't feel safe. There's something not quite right. You can't explain it with your thinking, but you know it in your gut. So this is what it means to believe in yourself, is trusting your intuition. Because I think most of the time we're navigating through life through our understanding. Or we build up the self. We're navigating life with this false self. Or we're navigating life just through our emotions. And we know from our experience that it just causes dissatisfaction in our lives. But what if we navigated life through this intuition? One of the first teachings I heard in Zen came from Dogen Zen master, and he said, don't follow the ideas of others. Listen to the voice within yourself. That really shook me up because my whole life I've been following the ideas of others. So I remember back in my 20s when I was going through a divorce. It was very difficult. It was the first time that I really felt this intuition. It was very strong. But everybody was telling me that I wasn't doing the right thing. So I started to have self-doubt, checking myself. I got depressed. And I don't know how I really did it, but I started to trust this inner voice. And it wasn't an easy experience, but it helped my life become more clear. Sometime after the divorce, I started practicing Zen and eventually moved into the Zen Center in Seattle. And I had this idea that I was going to go to Korea to sit a 90-day retreat and then come back and start training to become a monk. And the monk who lived at the Zen Center at that time said, well, this is perfect timing because Zen Master De Kwang, now he was a Zen master living at the Providence Zen Center. He was also the abbot of the Quantum School of Zen. So this monk said, Zen Master De Kwang is coming to Seattle to lead a retreat. So you can talk to him and get his advice and get his approval. So I was very excited about this. So eventually Zen Master De Kwang arrived and I was looking for that perfect time to talk to him about this. And there was one morning after practice, we were all sitting around the table drinking tea, and I thought, well, this is my time to talk to him. So I looked at Zen Master De Kwang and I said, sir, I'm going to go to Korea and sit a 90-day retreat. And then I'm going to come back and start training to become a monk. And I was waiting for his response. And he was silent for a little bit, then looked at me and said, that's nice. So what are we having for breakfast? I was so disappointed. And I started to check myself, having self-doubt. And this is what happens when we need others' approval. And I started to think, why do I need his approval to do this? This is my life. But again, it wasn't like I'm going to do whatever I want, because I started to remember that experience of intuition I had during the divorce and started listening to that, following that. Even though my plan didn't make sense 100%, I knew in my gut that I had to do it. So I'd like to share 3 things with you that helped me listen to this intuition or this inner voice. And the first thing would have to be is making the direction of your life clear. Why do you live your life? Because if this why is not clear, we're always going to have self-doubt. Whether you're in a relationship, or maybe it's a job, maybe things are going well. But when things are not going so well, we start to have self-doubt. What am I doing in this? Why am I doing this? This is crazy. But if our why is clear, then when things are difficult, we can pursue through them. Because we all know that sometimes life is easy and sometimes it's very difficult. And what I notice, if the why is clear, it's easier to navigate through those difficult times. The second thing that really helps me listen to this intuition is meditation practice. Now, there's a lot of practices out there, but one thing I notice about meditation, it helps keep me grounded. But what does that mean, to be grounded? So earlier I mentioned navigating through life just with our thinking, or navigating life through our emotions. And what happens when we do that, when we put a lot of energy into our thinking, or energy into our feelings, that we start to spin out of control. We've all had that experience of our feelings being out of control, our thoughts being out of control. And that disconnects us from this intuition that's already here. So meditation is a tool to help us direct our energy into this moment where we become anchored. So even though thoughts and feelings will appear, they're not spinning us around, and intuition can appear by itself. The third thing I think is helpful, and it's actually connected to the other two, is to understand your true self. True self is intuition. So how do we get to the core of this true self? In Zen, we have a very powerful practice. We ask this question: what am I? What is this I? We don't ask the question here, because that will just make us more confused and create more self-doubt. We ask this question in our gut. Earlier, I mentioned about ego and how we created it, and the problems that appear when we follow ego. Well, where did this idea of ego even come from? We don't know. And if we look at that with openness, curiosity, and sincerity, intuition appears. True self appears. And our life is complete in this very moment. And we don't need anybody's approval to live this life. And we realize that our lives are not just for ourselves. It's for this whole world. Those are my thoughts for the day. I made a video about intuition and karma. I'll put a link down below so you can check it out. I think it'll put everything into context. Also, I'd be interested in hearing from you. Do you need others' approval? And what do you do about it? Let me know down in the comments. If this video was helpful, you can let me know by liking this video, share this video with someone, subscribe to my channel. All right, everyone, I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you very soon.